Hey everyone, and welcome to Cognisto Key. We often think about central banks using these huge, complicated tools to manage the economy, right? Things like interest rates and big regulations. But what if I told you one of their most powerful tools is, well, it's surprisingly low tech? We're going to talk about a really fascinating concept today called moral suasion. I mean, think about it for a second. How can you possibly steer a whole country's economy just with a conversation? It sounds kind of crazy, right? We're so used to hearing about hard rules, complex charts, all that stuff. But what if the secret sauce is just being persuasive? Okay, so let's get into what this actually is. Moral suasion at its heart is when a central bank persuades, and that's the key word here, persuades commercial banks to get on board with its policies. See, they're not forcing them, they're not issuing commands, it's more like a strong request, an appeal to say, hey, look, let's think beyond just this quarter's profits and look at the bigger picture for the country's economy. So you might be asking, why even bother with this? Don't they have other, more powerful tools? Well, yeah, they do. But think of the economy like this massive, intricate machine. Sometimes a big lever like changing interest rates is just too blunt. It affects everything at once. Moral suasion is different. It's like having a direct phone line to the most important players. It's a way to send a very specific message right where it needs to go without shaking up the entire system. All right, so how does this actually work in practice? What does this persuasion look like? Let's take a peek inside the central bank's toolkit. The methods are actually pretty down to earth. It's not as complicated as you might think. For starters, you've got official letters, where the central bank lays out its concerns in black and white. But where the real magic happens is in direct face-to-face meetings. Picture this, the head of the central bank sitting down with the heads of major commercial banks. And it's not just a casual coffee chat. They're making a direct appeal, saying something like, listen, we need you to ease up on lending for speculative stuff, like risky real estate deals. I know it looks profitable now, but it could seriously hurt the whole economy down the line. Okay, but let's be real. Why would a massive bank listen to just a request? Well, because there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. It's not just a polite suggestion. It's a pretty clever mind game. And here's the core of it. The central bank is tapping into psychology. They're appealing to a sense of nationalism, to the greater good of the country's economy. They frame it not as, you must do this, but more like, hey, we're all in this together. Let's be partners in keeping our economy strong and stable. It's an invitation, not a demand. And this is where you really see the difference between a hard law and this kind of soft influence. A law is rigid, right? It's formal. You break it, there are penalties. Simple. But influence? That's flexible. It's informal. It's all about cooperation. The goal is the same, but you get there because people want to help, not because they're being forced to. But, of course, nothing's perfect. A tool that's built on being gentle, well, it has its limits. In fact, its biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. So here's the deal. On the plus side, it's a lenient method. There are no threats, no penalties, and that helps build a really good cooperative vibe. But, and this is a big but, its success totally depends on the commercial banks actually playing ball. If they don't want to cooperate, it just doesn't work. So why would they? Well, think about it. Nobody wants to get on the bad side of the central bank. Keeping that relationship healthy is super important. And there's always the unspoken idea that if this gentle approach doesn't work, well, the next step might be much stricter, formal regulations. And nobody wants that. There's a quote that just nails this idea perfectly. It calls moral suasion a psychological phenomenon of controlling the credit in the economy. And that's exactly it. It's about steering credit, which is basically the lifeblood of the economy, not with a rule book, but with the power of influence. Okay, so after all this, why does this matter? What's the big takeaway here? Well, it really leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? In the world of finance, which is so full of hard laws, complicated contracts, and algorithms, could it be that a trusted voice is actually more powerful than a written rule? This whole idea of moral suasion really makes you think that relationships and trust, they still count for a whole lot. Maybe the most powerful tool isn't a 1,000-page rulebook, but just a respected voice making a good point. And there you have it, moral suasion. It's a great reminder that sometimes the biggest forces shaping our economy are the ones we can't really see on a chart. Hey, if you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new, we'd be so grateful if you could hit that like button, share this with someone who might find it interesting, and of course, subscribe to Cognito Key for more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.